I've also been on the other side of the fence. I'm an ex-returning citizen. So what that means is that I thought I was above the law. I thought I could just say what I wanted to say to the brothers inside behind the walls because I don't have to stay there. So I could say, like on Christmas, I said one time, this is one thing I always say when I go speak. I remember saying this on Christmas one day. They were acting out. And I said, you know what? The good thing is this. I get to go home. You guys are still here. I said, and then again, I retracted it again. I said, you know what? I'm sorry for saying that because we're all one mistake away from being here too. And what did I do? Made that one mistake and I'm there. So now I am an activist. So I try to speak out to the things that happen within my city in Columbus, Ohio, within the prison system. I've talked to me and my girlfriend Danielle Andrews. She's my right hand on in the school to prison pipeline. That was my organization where I try to talk to these kids before they go to prison. I try to speak to them because those kids right now, you remember Whitney Houston said a long time ago, the kids are our future. So I have to stop them there because you do not want to go the way I went. I said, because it's not, everybody think it is like on TV when you see what happens in prison. And some of it's real and most of it's fake. It's nothing like what you see in on TV. They try to make it look like it's this and that. Unless you get one that's a TV show that's actually going to show you the real McCoy. But you will be in a big surprise when you go in and you think, oh, it's going to be just like this. It's just like a day camp. No, it's not. It's not a day camp. It's real life. Because mommy and daddy can't help you. And if you go inside with that attitude that you had on the street, you're not going to make it long. You'll be another statistic inside the institution, or it'll be somebody's girlfriend or something like that. So that's how that goes. And I try to get these kids to understand it. And I have a hard time getting these kids to understand that. And now I've wrote a book, Conviction to Redemption. It's my story of being ex-prison officer, inmate, professional wrestler, college football player, a little bit of pro football player, professional wrestler, a bodyguard for Tupac Shakur before he got real big. And I did it for TLC before TLC. I did it for Destiny's Child before Beyonce became with the Beehive, became as big as she is. I did a lot of security work, a lot of bodyguard work. So I have seen everything that you can believe. But right now, my main focus is trying to get these streets safe for our kids. Here in Columbus, we're already at 98 or 99 homicides. And that's and we have 9 under the age of 18. And it's just ridiculous because my thing is this: if we don't stop this, it's going to keep on going. It's going to keep on going. And like I said, when I was going through school, when I was in high school, the worst thing you ever saw when I was in high school, and I came out in 1990, the worst thing you ever saw was someone getting jumped. Now these kids are bringing guns to school. And not, what was it? I think it was this past Monday. A little boy was 8 years old and shot a 4-year-old in the side playing with a gun. He got found in the house and shot the little boy. He got shot in the side, but he lived. And they say he's going to be okay. But the simple fact is, why would you leave the gun out so the kids can pick it up and shoot it? This is not Nintendo. This is not Sega. This is real life. That's a real gun that has real bullets. Bullets don't have no eyes. And my grandmother used to always say, bullets don't have any eyes. My thing is this. I always say this too. You have to stay away from the person who has that bullet with your name on it, because every bullet has somebody's name on it in the streets. The thing is, you have to stay away from that person who has that bullet with your name on it. And that's the main thing is people don't seem to see that. They think you're Superman. Bullets just going to just bounce off of you. No, it's not. And I'm so scared for our children now. And like I said, it's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's not a Mexican thing. It's a child thing. That's why I fight, because these kids don't understand. And the color of your skin has nothing to do with it. You have to understand. And what we were just saying, the system now is set up for our kids to fail. As far as when this coronavirus came in, that was just the plain thing to open up the doors for our children to fail. Now you have to learn off the computer. Families who are poor and can't afford to get the internet or can't afford to get the computer so the kids can learn. So how are you going to help them? Internet thing is expensive. And then now here in Ohio, they're just going to pass a law that it's going to be free Wi-Fi for everybody here in Ohio. Supposedly, that's what they're saying. But my thing with that is, if you're giving the government free reign to let you in your house, so now they're going to control your internet, so they're going to let you see what you are watching and see what you are doing. And that scares me also. So we're on a catch-22. You're in a catch-22. So you're going to have the system controlling your internet. And now you're going to say, okay, we're going to give this to you for free. So I'm giving it to you for free. That means I can watch what you want. Big Brother's going to watch you. And I have to say, I know people look at me and say, you're a conspiracy theorist. I am a conspiracy theorist to a point. But when you open it up like that, you're allowing people to say, we're going to give you free internet. So they'll be able to control what you get to see and what you get to watch and what you get to learn. So that's the main thing I don't like on that aspect. But my book is selling. I'm on Valuable Press. I'm in Amazon.com. I'm about to be in Barnes and Nobles and Walmart. I'm self-publishing this. I didn't want to join a place I got my book in one place, Valuable Press. They try to take a lot of money, but now I'm breaking it off from that and do it myself, because you will not make no money if you have to pay them. It's almost like slavery. I'm paying them to promote my book, my ideas, my vision, and you can't cut me a little piece of cheese, and that's not right. So if you want to write a book, try to do it yourself. You got to get your feet wet. I understand that, but you have to. Sooner or later, you have to break away from mom and do your own book, because you will never make no money in this situation. But as far as me, what I like to do, activists, I speak at schools, I speak at festivals. I'm going to be here at the Back to School Festival here in Columbus, and we're giving out book bags and school supplies and all this type of stuff for kids inside the book bag, and I'm going to get to speak there. I have an outfit I'm going to wear. I just had it fixed. It was my prison orange outfit. And I'm going to have my prison number on it and the name of where I was at on the back, Ohio Board of Corrections, Department of Corrections on the back end. And I let people say, do you want to wear this 24 hours a day in the heat? Do you want to do that? This is not outfit you want to wear. This is not Tommy Hilfiger. This is not Levi. This is state issue institution clothes. And that's what I'm on. That's my message. You don't want to wear, this is not Nike. This is not Nikes. This is not Converse. This ain't nothing. It's not Puma. It's state issue clothing. You do not want to be state issued. So that's that, man. That's all I got to say. You go on, any more questions, let me know.
Well, so what do you think is the reason? Are you saying that kids aren't listening in particular, or they're having a hard time like with your message?
They get the message, but a lot of these kids see me as an adult figure. And when they see as an adult figure, a lot of kids don't want to listen to an adult because they figure, oh, they're going to tell me I need to stop doing this. I got to stay in school and stay in all this type of stuff. But I try to get them to understand, like, look, I was a child not too long ago. I'm 50 years old, but that's even though I'm 50, doesn't mean I've never been a child. I've gone through the stuff you've gone through. So what I'm trying to get you to do is hold up, pump your brakes. Don't go this way. And sometimes they don't answer. But if I come out in my prison clothes and show you where I've been, then maybe you will listen. And that has been my reaction to when I go to schools and talk. They find out, like, oh man, he's an ex-prison. He was a prison. They say first thing they say I was a prison guard. Then when they say he's an ex-inmate, then their eyes get big. Oh man, you've been on both sides, so I can explain to them what's going on. And I tell them all the time, even when I go inside the prisons and jails, I say, I'm not coming here to pray. I'm not coming here to pray for you. I'm not going to do that, because I always got mad when people would come to prison to speak. Churches come to prison, they want to talk about God is here for you, or in my case, Allah's here for you. And so, like, I get that. He is there. But the point is, where were they at when I was making that mistake? So that's in my mind at that time, I said, I'm mad at them because they weren't there. When I was making that mistake, why didn't you come and tell me stop then? But yet you want to come in and tell me that I'm here for you. I don't believe you're here for me. So I don't want to come in. I want to hear what's going on in your mind. Let me talk to you. Let's just talk. I don't want to tell you I don't want to bring the Bible into you, because you get enough of that. You get enough of that in prison. I want you to sit down and let's talk about what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your life. Let's talk about how you dealing with your children, how you deal with your wife, or how you deal with your girlfriend, what's going on there. That's what I want you to understand. That's what I'm here to talk to you about. Then if you want me to pray for you, I will pray for you. But I'm just not going to come right into the boat and just throw God on your plate. I want you to understand I'm here for you to hear what you got to say. And a lot of kids have that. They don't have people want to sit down and listen to them. Because that's the problem I feel that we have, that we don't listen to our children. Our children will tell you everything that's going on in the world if you listen to them. It might not be in the language that we know, because our language has changed completely from what their language is. I remember my daughter and daughter would sit down and talk about stuff for hours. And so, Dad, I really didn't know you knew that. I said, Lisa, it's the same ropes you've been through, just different players. It's the same game, different players. But I need you to understand that Daddy understands your problems, understand. But the thing is, I'm still your dad. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to punish you if you do something wrong. But I also want to hear what made you come to that decision to make that decision. What made you come to that right to make that decision? Why couldn't you come to me or your mother to talk to us? And that's what I want kids to understand, children to understand, teenagers to understand, that we are people here that understand what's going on. We want to help. We're not going to criticize you. We're not going to downgrade you. We want to know what is wrong, what has made you walk this road, what makes you want to be in gangs, what makes you want to be in this type of way. Just because Daddy's not there doesn't mean that mommy can't help you. But I'm pretty sure you have uncles. I'm pretty sure you might have your good friends might have a dad you might be able to go to them and talk to. Because a lot of men, for me, instance, my mother was there, but I didn't feel comfortable coming to talk to her about sex with my mother. I can't talk to her about that. Right. I need that aspect to talk to. Right. But a lot of these young men don't have the father figure to talk to, and that upsets me, because that's what I want to do. I want to be not your father, but I want to be that big brother that you can come, or that uncle that you can come and talk to when something goes the wrong way. And that's why I made the End of School to Prison pipeline, because I want the men in my organization to become, if you in your community, be able to come that person that can talk to these kids. Be the big brother or the uncle that can say, look, I'm not your dad. I can't never be your dad, but I love you just the same, like you are family. I want to be able to help you.
Well, the reason why, and I want to get Alex in on my opinion here in a second, but the reason why I asked that is because me being who I am, and I'm starting to unleash that onto my listeners, right? I have a show coming up. I'm bringing people, men and women, onto my show that I haven't had contact with in 20, 25 years, that I'm tracking down, to bring onto my show so that these people can be character witnesses to exactly who I am, because I want my listeners to know that I'm just not no person up here just telling them things to get likes and subscribes and to get donations out of them, right? I'm the real deal, right? For real. And with me saying that, the reason why I asked you that question, Bobo, is because I'm thinking like if I was a kid, and being my mentality as I was as a child, I wouldn't have listened to you either, right? Okay. And the reason why I wouldn't have listened to you is simply because you were a cop. That's how I would look at you. I would look at you as this guy is a cop, and he broke the law. He used inmates to break the law with, and now he wants to come talk to me about some jive ass shit. That's how I would look at it, right?
I get you.
And the reason why I'm saying this, and I also want everybody to keep in mind that a lot of inmates listen to this show as well. So there's going to be a lot of hostility, and there's a lot of hostility in me as well. Simply because I know that there are inmates that suffered at your hands, right?
Yes, it was. I agree with that.
And there are families that had suffered at those same hands as well. And and I don't take no blame away from the inmates that got involved as well, because me being an inmate, I was always looking for a guard to suck up to that I could work my end as well. So it works both ways, you know what I mean? And it all comes down to self. But as you said in the beginning, we make mistakes, and I understand now survival. I understand survival, and I understand the oppression that's put on us to make us think that we have to do egregious acts in order to pay our bills or to just to live a little bit extra.
Better. Exactly. I get you. I
You
get
see
you
what I'm
100%.
saying? So
Yes,
so
sir.
I understand making bad choices under those oppressive moments. But introducing Alex, Alex, please jump in.
Oh, I'd just like to say I'm really glad to be here and have a lot of respect for your story, Stephen. I think it's you can gain a lot of insight from somebody who's been on both sides of a coin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you've really got a lot to be able to offer, just to the community there locally, and to the community out here as well. Like Thomas said, there's a lot of inmates that listen to the program, or former inmates, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to offer some insight from both sides is a big thing. And I like what you're doing with the kids up there too, because that really is where it starts. We all know that our education system is shot. I mean, it's a joke.
It's
You know,
terrible.
I
Exactly right.
can't, I can't tell you the last time I used, cons or sine and cosine, whatever, the algebra shit. Man, I ain't
Mm-hmm.
never learned that. I ain't never used it for anything. So
Come on.
education's a big thing. And I think what kids will respond to the most is actions. And
Exactly. I agree too.
you're doing that. You can talk to them until you're blue in the face,
Mm-hmm.
but them seeing you living in a different way, I think, is the best way to get through to them. So I got a lot of respect for what you're doing up there, and I
Appreciate that.
appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Well,
that.
that's why I bring Bobo, and that's why I fuck with Bobo, because
Right.
I know, right? Like, just to hear this man speak, he's about the kids, and
Right.
that's what I'm about. And not only am I about the kids, but I'm also about the parents, because I know that's where the kids spawn from. And
Exactly.
as I had somebody on yesterday, Mr. Joseph Langton, and I explained to him, because he said the same thing about the kids. And we all have to remember that we're working both sides of the spectrum, because as what we're doing, as what Bobo's out there doing, we have a lot of prideful parents out there that don't want to ask for help on how to raise their children.
That's true.
But they're going to sit back and they're going to watch and see how their children are reacting to a good, positive community leader. And that may end up, because I think at the end of the day, all of us as parents want to bond with our kids. We just don't know how, there's no time to, and we look for shortcuts. And when those
Mm-hmm.
shortcuts aren't there, we kind of just, some of us just give up, and just kind of pray, we'll pray to God that everything ends up okay, and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why, as Bobo said, and I agree with him 100%, even down here, and I just said that the other day, the kids today are on a whole different level, a whole different level. I would have never heard a story when I was a kid of two young females dragging a, what was he, a Uber driver or whatever he was, and beating
Right.
him to death. I would have
Right.
never heard that as a kid.
No, you're right.
Females at that,
Exactly.
you would have never heard that.
Mm-mm.
For me to
Now,
hear, for me to hear a female hitting somebody in the head with a bottle was like egregious for me. That was like, whoa, that chick's off the
right.
chain.
Right. You're right. You didn't see that. You're
No,
exactly
you
right.
never did. You never did. But kids are exposed to that. That comes from the exposure that they have nowadays, because they're exposed to so much stuff that we were never exposed to. I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and I said something to her about before the internet, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And I was
Right.
like, "Well, we didn't grow up having the internet." She said, "But you had video games." Yeah, we had that, but we didn't have the internet. So
And
the internet is a lot like TNT was back in the day. The guy that created dynamite, his name was Nobel. He's the one that ended up starting the Nobel Prize
right.
because of both the good and bad benefits of TNT. And the
Right.
internet's the same way. It can empower you in ways that you can't even imagine. Anything you want to find is out there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also dangerous if it's not kept under good control by parents, because
That's right.
you've got 9-year-old kids out there that's TikToking and doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Mm.
And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. Just the kids with violence and disrespect and things like that being taken to another level comes from a lot of the shit that they see on the internet.
That's right. I
And
agree with you.
it's
I agree with you.
it's sad, but it's a tough time to be a parent. It really is. I mean, but again, there's information out there. There's a lot of parents have figured out good ways to do things with kids, but you have to go seek out that information and figure out how to be a part of your kid's digital life, so that you can kind of keep that under wraps a little bit.
Right. My daughter's on Twitter and Instagram, and she's not on Facebook, but she's on all the other stuff. But I tell her, I said, even though you're grown, you will be my friend. When I request you to be a friend, you will be my friend. I said, for the simple fact is, I don't care if you're 22. I'm still your dad. And if I see something crazy, and you say something crazy, I'm not gonna embarrass you on there. I'm gonna call you like, what was that about? Who was that?
Right.
I'm still gonna say that. And I want her to understand that I still want you to be who you are. I want you to be your person. I'm not trying to control who you are, but I want you to make decisions that's going to affect you the right way, because you understand the way that you dance. You up there dancing on TikTok and dancing on Facebook. Jobs can get that. They can see how you act. They can see that.
And they do get it.
I know. These kids don't understand that they will watch it.
Right.
And you talk about this type of stuff. You can't say some things on Facebook and TikTok. You can't say it because it will get back.
Absolutely. You see what's going on right now. I don't know who follows Kwame Brown or whatnot. My wife will give me updates on what's going on with him. But he just did an episode on that she showed me where it's exactly that with Jason Kidd. What's going on with Jason Kidd and the other coach, where they pulled up his record from 20 some odd years ago about him drinking and things, and then Jason Kidd's domestic violence. But this is the thing, is if they want to, you're leaving an imprint. Now, what I tell my daughter, and what I try to get people to understand, that like my social media presence, I'm not on social media to talk about my personal life. It's a marketing tool for me. I'm using their people's platform to try to market my ideas, to spread my word. And the internet has made that more possible for me to reach all the people around the world to hear my voice.
That's right.
That is what social media is, a tool, but it is also an agenda, right? It's also a distraction. It's also a monitoring device. It's also a recording device. I mean, there's so many aspects to it. So our children have to understand, like you say, it's like you said earlier, Bobo, about the free. You have to ask yourself, like, why is Google free? Why is Facebook free? You have to understand it takes billions and billions and billions of dollars to run the amount of servers to establish what Google and Facebook are doing. That money comes from somewhere. And that money comes from you. They use you to market to you. They use you for all kinds of things. So we have to understand.
We become the product.
Right.
We've always been the product. We just never realized it. We're just starting to realize it now. And that's why we're in the bed of lies that we're in today. And that's why our children are shooting people versus beating people up, because everyone's starting to realize, like, everything we've been told is a lie for the most part.
It is. You're right. Exactly right. And I don't know, it's never going to get back to the way it used to be, but we have to find that market, that change that's going to be able to change it, kind of almost like it back to where we were. But like I said, it's never going to get back to that point. It's never going to get there because things are too far out of control now. And I don't blame politicians. I don't blame Trump. I don't blame Obama. I don't blame Biden. I don't blame all this, because the simple fact is this was set before they even came in office. This is words have been done. They only control so much. They control what they want them to control, the ones who are over them. And I tell people that you can't blame the president for everything, because they're just doing what they are told to do. You don't see the ones who are in control of them. And you never will see the ones who are in control of them. Like I said before, Trump was one thing. He said a lot of things I didn't agree with, but there were some things he did say that I said, you know what? He got a point. He got a point. And I don't agree with all the stuff he said. I'm not a Trumper. I'm not none of that. I follow someone. I rather vote for somebody who is not Republican, not independent, because I want somebody who's no longer in the big two. I want somebody who's going to be able to see what I am trying to say. Are you listening? Don't just say I'm listening to you because I want your vote. That's the reason why I'm listening to you, because I want your vote. I want you to actually sit down with me and say, you know what, you're wrong for saying that, but I understand what you're talking about. Just like when you said that, like you said, some kids ain't gonna listen to you because they see you as a cop. And I agree with you 100%. You're right, but that's what we had to have inside the politician office, of somebody who plays both sides. Don't be like, I want your vote, so I'm going to believe what you say. I understand what you're saying, but do you really hear me? Do you hear me? I want the politician, next person coming out who wants to be independent, don't need to be Republican or Democrat, can come out and say, look, this is how I wanted to run. If they don't like it, I still have to make it run like this. And I need people to understand that. And they won't, because we're so brainwashed as Republican and Democrat. And that's just not how it's supposed to be. We need that independent party, not the Tea Party, not that. I need somebody who's going to be independent. It's going to be for me and you, not for Mike, Joe, Bob, Cindy, Peter, Bobby. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me, what I need in my life to make my life a lot better, to make your world run a lot better, make me want to go out and work to make the world a lot better. I need that. But until you realize we need that, it's never going to be in a repeating saga. It's always going to go in a circle.
Well, I think that a lot of people realize that, and a lot of people want the same thing. There's a lot of people out there, I think, who don't want to fall into the Republican or Democratic Party anymore. Right. They understand that, and they realize that. But what the problem is that the same people that are running the president and Congress, the same ones that are paying all their bills and buying them new cars, they're also running the media.
There you go.
So you've got the majority of the media that is biasing them one way or the other, that's taking a candidate like, just throwing the name out there like Bernie Sanders. They're taking him and making it seem like there's no way he could possibly get elected, and you're going to throw away your vote if you vote for somebody like that. So that's what's happening. But I think most of the people in the country, if you ask anybody in the country, they'll say that Washington is broke as fuck. Anybody will. Everybody will. Everybody agrees on that. And I think that, in this country, that's what we kind of need to come back to is, okay, what can we agree on? Okay, it's broke. Now let's start looking at ways to fix that. And as we get deeper and deeper into that, we're going to find some differences, but we're also going to find some similarities.
Exactly.
And we as a country have to start latching onto those similarities a little bit so that we can find ways to work together. Because all we're doing right now is we're buying into the bullshit the media is feeding us about libtards are fucked up and Trumpers are fucked up. Yeah. And everybody that don't think exactly like you is fucked up.
Exactly.
No, that's diversity. And diversity is a beautiful thing.
We've been trained to think in a group mentality. So it's automatic, and it's a natural ability for us by this point to automatically put ourselves in a group without even realizing that we're putting ourselves in a group. To speak about being independent is scary. It's a scary thing to be independent, in any walk of life, to voice your own opinion. And because we've been, as you guys say, so brainwashed over all these years, we're not made to think independently anymore. And that's a lot of the issue, because they don't teach critical thought process in elementary school. There's nowhere where kids are learning critical thought processes. And as I said in an earlier episode, our critical thought process now is Google. Anytime it comes to a critical thought that you have to make a decision about something, the first thing you do is Google. It's what comes to your mind, and then you let Google do the thinking for you. You see, and that's what they want. They want your first thought to be their product that you go to, so they can monitor all your thoughts after that. You see,
I agree with you.
And
I agree with you.
And this is why I say, like, I don't negotiate with terrorists. These people want to come out and they want to say, they don't negotiate with terrorists. I'm using their moniker, and until I see that these people are starting to get behind what they say and ran their votes on, right? And to me, by all definition that you've given me, right, you're a terrorist. because you're lying and you're deceiving the American people into voting for you, and then you're getting in there and you're not doing what you said, and 9 times out of 10 you may be doing the alternate of what you said you were going to do. Bobo, have you seen any difference in the communities or the education up there since Biden has taken control?
I've seen no difference in nothing. It's the same. Same platform, the same platform, different people in it. Exactly what it is. They're trying to make different things happen. They're trying. They say they're trying. But now with the vaccines, that's another thing that's everybody's fighting about. The vaccines are you going to let your child get vaccinated to school? That's another thing that made me so mad this year with the school system. All these kids, like I said, had to be taught virtually. And you can't, like my girlfriend said, she teaches. She's like, a long time we've always told our kids, school's a school and home is home. Now, school is home. So, because you learn from home. And so kids do not know how to break the two apart. I see her son has autism, and he has to go to school with a computer, and you can't even keep a kid's attention in a classroom. So how are we going to keep a kid's attention on a computer? So you're setting these kids up for failure. And nobody seems to understand. I think they say they understand it, but I don't think they understand it. Now, the vaccine is going to come out, and pretty soon they're going to say vaccine's going to be just like you got to have this before you go to school. Now, a lot of people say I don't want my kid to have this vaccine. I don't want my kid to have this vaccine. For a long time, I wasn't going to get the vaccine, but I got it because my girl works in the school system. She works around with the kids, and so I had to get it because it don't want to get her contaminated, and that takes the money from the household because she can't work because she doesn't get the vaccine. So I had to have it so she can continue working. So see, there you go. It's a trap.
It's a trap, and that's that they're cornering us in. I listen, man. Like I said inside, and Bobo, you could probably attest to it, and probably yes, Alex as well. Like, okay, for example, the DNA swabs, right? Were you active when they were doing the DNA swabs, or were you inside?
I was active when it happened. Of course, I had to do when I was inside. Yes, I was there.
And what did they tell you about the DNA swabs?
They told me when I was a guard, this is going to be able to put them. We'll have it in the database. So if a crime happens and this person's a crime, he could be across the country. It will come up in the database, so we'll know exactly who it is. And you're right. And there it is. That's what they told me.
Now, Alex, what did they tell you if you refused the DNA? Were you active when they were doing the DNA swabs?
I was active when I was doing when they were doing the DNA swabs.
So if you refused the DNA...
I don't think it came up what would happen if you refused it. I think it wasn't really a question. Pretty much if you refused it, they were going to forcibly take it. Was pretty much my understanding. There wasn't no, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to submit to it. Right. That never popped into my head because I didn't see that as an option. Either I was going to do it or they were going to forcibly take it from me.
Right. So, they'll first take your commissary away from you, right? And they'll give you for like 72 hours, you know, and then they'll put you in the shoe after that, in the hole, and then they'll put you on food restrictions. This is what they'll do until you ended up giving them a DNA swab, but by that time you've already, just given them the DNA swab for the most part, But
they've got behavior modification out the ass in prison. So I mean, they can make you do whatever they want you to do just through punitive measures.
I'm so glad that you said that, Alex, because that is exactly my point. And what I'm trying to tie to the communities and the American people is that it's all one system. The prison system is trained and ran by the government. The American system is trained and ran by the government. It's all the same model. So the same techniques that you see to control mass population in prison is being applied to the communities out here. And what Alex is saying about the modifications in order to get you to do it is exactly what Bobo said in order for him to have to take the vaccine. Now, I have not taken it. and I still wear my mask for multitudes of reasons in public. I'm against the vaccines because I just know what they are.
Right.
Now, my daughter lives with her mother down south, and they're a little more free-spirited towards life in that sense. A little more liberal, if you will.
I got you.
So I hear from my daughter one day. She's like, oh, by the way, Dad, now that I'm better, I had COVID. And not only did I have COVID, but I got the vaccine. This is how I'm told as a father, right? So
Right.
my first question, I see Bobo tilted his head, right? So my first question is, but baby, if you had COVID, why did you get the vaccine? Well, they told me I had to get the vaccine, for this, that, and this. Who told you that? Well, it was the doctor, blah, blah, blah. So did anybody ask you or test you for the antibodies knowing that you just came off of getting COVID? No.
Right.
No.
Right.
So again, when I hear an incident like that and so many others, my first question is, then it's not really about health. It's not really about, you know what I mean? It's not because if somebody has the antibodies, why would you waste a vaccine on this person?
If they already got the antibodies. Exactly.
When we're struggling and we're buying millions of vaccines, but we're hitting people with vaccines that just. So come on. I mean, we have to put together the pieces, and we have to wake up. So, yeah.
Right.
I think I'm going to chime in here for a second because I think that I understand what you're saying about the vaccines. I've got the vaccine. I got it several months ago. I haven't had any ill side effects. And I understand that I think there's a lot of people who are not wanting to take it a little bit as a sign of the word just escaped me, but like just rebellion. Just, I know I'm not doing this largely because you're telling me to.
Me too. Exactly.
And I don't know if that's your case, and I'm not necessarily speaking that to you, but it occurred to me that may not be actually the best act of rebellion. I don't personally see anything health-wise wrong with the vaccines. I think that there have been a lot of vaccines that have helped in the past, with smallpox and other things of that nature. So, but honestly, I'm getting off topic here. What I'm getting at is the better way to rebel against what is happening in our country is to stop buying their shit. Stop buying shit from Amazon. Stop buying shit from Walmart. Start going out and supporting your local people where the money's going to stay in the community.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Buy hot dogs from the hot dog stand from the guy who lives 2 buildings down from you.
Make sure it's USA. Make sure you're buying USA products.
I agree with that.
You know?
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and those are the smart things that we have to start doing to start turning the tide on this thing towards our favor. And I really hate that social media is what it is and influences so many people into basically not thinking for themselves. All they do is listen to, whatever headline or meme fits their worldview and their echo chamber. And but those are the things, because I'm right there with all the people who are like, yeah, fuck their vaccine. I'm not taking that because they're trying to make me take it. But there's better ways and stuff to go about doing this.
Yes, well, you're correct.
I didn't get that across the way
you're
I
fine.
wanted to,
No, you're fine, and I understand your point. I really do. And for those, all I can say is, again, my message, right, is be conscious of self. Don't do something because you see somebody else doing it, or you really don't research and understand why you're making the decision that you're making. For me, right, one, I just know too much about Dr. Fauci, and I know too much, I've seen too much to have me believe any other way that this thing was man-made. It was for biowarfare, and it was going to be unleashed at some point. The vaccine, right, I see Bill Gates all over behind all of this, and I've seen what he's doing over in Africa, and I'm seeing the reports coming out of Africa of all the fertility from the vaccines that he's putting out there. And I know that these people are big on global population control, and I know that it's done in some sort of fashion between, however, I don't want to get too much into
Right.
but for me, I guess the overarching point is I just know too much. And this is why they say ignorance is bliss, and why some people just don't want to educate themselves, because
I agree with you.
Because it's more joyful just to be ignorant to all of this stuff. We're in an ugly time, and we're in a time that's going to be looked back upon for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's no question. No question. A global pandemic, right? The shit going on with our presidency, the votes.
Oh, that cool, right? Yeah.
All of this, and just everything that's happened in the past year is going to be studied for a very long time.
Yes, it is.
And I want to make my part of that. I want to bring Bobo in because I do want to share just a little bit. I did we got into some deep things, and these are things that really have to be spoken about. I do want to get into CRT up there with you as well, because I know that's a big issue up there in the schools, and I know you're dealing with children as well. But I also really want to get into I don't know how much time we have left, but I really want to get into just some of the decision-making factors of how you went from guard to inmate, so people can understand that, because I do want to respect my brothers and sisters that are locked up listening to this, that did want to tune in to hear that part of it. So let's, since we're on this topic, before we get off it, let's just spend some time on the CRT real quick. Are you dealing with that up there, this critical race theory? Is it in your schools? Are they teaching it to the kids? Do you agree with it? What are your thoughts on it?
I believe for a fact that racism right now, I can say racism right now, is at an all-time high right now. As far as we can break it back down to the police brutality and stuff like that. So now, as I say that, a lot of the African American men I know, and women at that fact. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'll say this real quick, and I'm gonna say this. The Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter. I say this. Black lives won't matter until we learn how to matter to ourselves. Quit killing one another. That's what I speak out on now. I used to be pro-black this, Black Lives Matter. But every time I turn on the news, another black man gets shot by another black man. And so how can people take us seriously if we're killing one another? But that goes back. It's controlled. The guns, we don't have no planes. We can't bring no guns in the hood. So the guns are in the hood. But how do we get them? We can't get the guns like that. How being a felon now, we can't control guns. We can't have guns at all, but we still get them. So how does that happen? But I need these kids to understand that it is just like you said. It is a test. It's to see what you can do, what they're gonna make you do. But we need to be able to all of us, me, you, all of us need to be able to say, look, and everything you said is exactly what I say too. But there's sometimes I don't say it because my girlfriend, she's really beginning to understand what I'm saying. And I told her, I said, I'm not trying to brainwash you. I just want you to open your eyes and see what I'm talking about, because you have a child. We have kids. We need to show them this is what's happening. And I agree with you. Now, as far as what you're saying, it's there. They're just now kind of starting to bring it out in the open. They're having a news conference before school starts back, and I'm going to be there for that one. And they want to talk about all this type of. I asked them this: you need to bring in confidential behavior, so kids, like we just said, to make the right decision before you do stuff. We need to find out where your mind is at. So quit trying to say a kid is special needs or special this. They might not be that. They might not actually understand what's going on. Because that's one thing I always talk about when I go speak. I said a child's mental state is not an adult mind at age 17, 18. You don't get that till you're 25.
Right, 25, right.
So how you going to put a child that's 18 inside the penitentiary with somebody 25, 30, 50 years old? You can't do that. They don't know what they're doing. They just see something and they react. They don't never think it out. And that's what we need to teach these kids. This is what you just said, it has to be taught some type of way, but I don't know how it's going to do it without people saying it's racist.
I'm pretty sure it's not even taught in K through 12 or anything, isn't it? Isn't this some kind of specialized thing?
It was. Well, that's the thing. You know, critical race theory is a university level class. It's law. It's taught as law. You know, in a sense, but they are bringing it into the schools, even though they're saying that they're not. But it's there, and you have like the parents that are showing up in hundreds at the school, and what they're teaching, Alex, is that, you know, America essentially at the fundamental root level was established as a racist country, and that everything spawning out of that is a racist country. And I don't know if I disagree with that theory, right? However, it's I really have to delve into it more to have a solid opinion on it. But one thing I do know is it shouldn't be being taught to our kids. Race shouldn't even be a discussion to our children.
Nope.
Right. So, I mean, how is it coming into our schools? You made the statement that it was coming into our schools. So is it
as a curriculum
being introduced this year? So it's coming into the curriculum this year.
Yep.
And if so, where is that happening? I mean, are there specific examples of where it's now being taught to children?
all in your guys' neck of the woods, all up there in the Northeast, Virginia, Ohio, I think Michigan Carolinas are introducing it. And what they're saying essentially is that these kids, these white kids, have to understand that they are essentially racist, right? And that all of their thoughts are racist, because this is so again. And I just let me wrap this up with this here, and then we'll go into a little bit of Mr. Bobo's life. And to clarify what Mr. Bobo is saying, when the black on black crimes and such, I want everybody to understand this is agenda. It is agenda. Mr. Black on black crime, when you're out there and you're killing your brother in the neighborhood, you are feeding the agenda. Gangsters, you know, you gangbangers. When you're out here and you're protecting your hood, right? You are feeding that agenda. You are doing exactly what the people want you to do. So while you think you're out here rebelling against them, you're doing what they want you to do.
They're training you for that. That's right.
Listen, man, if we want these people's attention, stop all the crime against us. Stop all the crime against your communities. Come together as one vote, and if you really want to get their attention, stop voting for these people. Stop voting at all. Go 1 year without no votes and watch how these people will come to you. You won't have to stand outside of their buildings anymore with signs, because they're going to know that they have an issue. That issue is unity, and that's what everything that they put into is about division. They have to keep us divided, and we do that by killing each other, raping each other's children, all of this crap that we're doing to each other, man, and our children. So I love all of you guys, man, for what you do for the kids, for real. So, Mr. Bobo, you were a correction officer at what facility?
Madison Correctional Institution.
And how long were you there?
About 3.5 years.
Have you ever committed a crime going into the institution?
Never.
So
Never.
do they do background checks and such? You have to pass a background check and all of
Yeah,
that.
background check, psychological evaluation, all that type of stuff. We do all that. Here in Ohio, you do.
Were you a criminal-minded kid coming up?
No, no. I was brought up in a household that was mom, grandma, grandpa worked every day, and that's how they were. That's how it's supposed to be. You work to get what you needed.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So how was your lifestyle at that time that you go in as a correctional officer?
Um, I I went to a private school through elementary, kind of elementary, junior high. I was always a Catholic school, stuff like that. Then I finally went. My mom got married. We left Springfield, Ohio, which is a small little town in Ohio called Springfield, Ohio, and it was home of International Harvester. They made the school buses. They made school buses. So that's where you worked at. My grandfather worked there. My uncle worked there. That's where you went to. Then she got married. I moved to Dayton. And Dayton to Springfield was like moving from LA. Let's say you lived in a small little town in Colorado. Just say that. Small little town in Colorado in the mountains. And then you moved to LA. So you brought up where everything is slow motion. Slow. Things close up at 6:00. Everything's closed. Ain't no pizza. Only thing you can want fast food. You got to order pizza, have it delivered to. McDonald's and stuff closed like 6:30, 7:00. So when I came to Dayton, Ohio, it was wide open. I was like, oh my God, it's wide open. I never seen this stuff going on here. The girls were a lot different in Dayton, Ohio than they are in Springfield. The clothes that they wore, they were tight jeans and tight shirts. I was like, oh my God, it's like I'm watching videos. Oh my God, look at this. You think about that, you're like, how is that possible? How these girls come out looking like that? They're not built like this where I'm from. So that's when I first started getting introduced to the drug dealers. Mm. And the drug dealers got all the girls that you liked because they had the money. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow. So I'm working at a nursery as the flat water and flowers and stuff like that, doing that. That's where I worked at. I bust tables, and then I was playing football. And so when I got to high school, I was like, man, I can't get my mom. I said, my mom's going out buying get Nikes and stuff like that. And she's working 2 jobs so I can have nice stuff.
Yeah. And
so now I'm like, man, I can't have my mama working like that. So when I got out of high school and went to college, I got injured playing football. So I started working security and bodyguard and stuff like that when I got in college. And that's when I said, you know what, this is not it. So I started seeing all the major dope boys I was friends with in high school with. Now they're out and they're doing big things, driving big cars and all. So I got infatuated by their lifestyle. So when I was working in prison, I was like, I had a guy. He's I think he's still incarcerated, a big time drug dealer. And he used to talk to me. He said, man, you know what? You can make a whole bunch of money bringing drugs into the system. Mm. This is what he told me. You can bring drugs into the system. You're a CO. They're going to check you. Bring them in. And you have their parents, their family put you money on your stuff. So you're going to give them the drugs and they're going to give you the money, send you the money, give you the money mm-hmm. for them.
Pushing his product.
Pushing his product.
Do you still do you still have contact with that dude or?
No, I know. That's why I said I don't even know if he's still locked up or not. I don't even know.
Okay.
So, like I said, then I brought all that stuff in, and then I was working at another little like halfway house, part-time job, halfway house, trying to make more money. And so, this had female and male in this halfway house. Mm-hmm. And so I was in, you had to work both sides, the female side and the male side. And so I made a mistake of opening up to a female inmate. Mm. Talking to her. I was having problems at home with the wife because mm-hmm. She knew what I was doing and she didn't like it. I said, but I'm paying bills in this house. You don't have to work as hard because my money's going to this. So me and her was going into it. So I opened up to her, the female, because I was weak-minded because she was stroking my ego, stroking me, doing what we do as being inmates.
Sure.
We stroke you. We know how to get to you mentally. And so she she would come out and talk to me at night when I had to work second shift and walking second. She'd come outside, be kind of skimpy dressed, wearing the t-shirt and stuff.
Working her game. Working her magic.
Working her game.
I know she was bad too.
Right. And dumb. And I knew what it was, but I still fell into it. And so I went to write her up. Now, no, I'm still bringing stuff in. I went to write her up because she got in trouble. So she figured that she could sweet talk me and I wouldn't write her up to make her she loses commissary or something like that for a week. And so she got mad. So she went back.
You're muted.
That
okay, there you go.
I had sex with her. I said, "Joe, possible way I could have sex with you, all the cameras." They believed it. I was coming to work that day. The Ohio State troopers were there at the institution, handcuffed me. And they found out about the drugs and all that stuff because I told her about the stuff I was doing. So it got switched around. All that. I got caught up in the system because I was trying to be the man. That's what I did. So I'm not 100% innocent. I'm not 100% type of guy, but I didn't do that to the girl. I ain't stupid. I ain't stupid at all. I know what that's going to cause, and I'm not going to do that. But I brought the dope in. Yes, I did, because I want that probability of saying, you know what, I'm the man. And again, I got caught up playing the game because I thought I could get away with it, and I figured, you know what, I got caught. I'm on the Green Mile. I'm good. They're going to support me because I'm one of their brothers. Nah, that's not what happened. They actually had me wait. They had me there. As soon as I came in, my boss, the sergeant, told me to come in. I need you to come in, sign this paperwork, blah, blah, blah. Everything's cool, man. We signed your paperwork. So when I got there, I drove to work. I got there. I walked in. I noticed that there was some more the state troopers there. I didn't put two and two together. I didn't think about it. So I'm in there. I'm signing out paperwork. Next thing I know, the state troopers come in, and they said, "Mr. Bobo." I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I need you to come with us." I said, "Uh-oh." So I knew when they said come with us, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so when I came with him, I come around the corner, and they hit me with that. They said, "Well, we're investigating a sexual assault with this female." I noticed on the desk was her picture, my picture, with the detectives and the state troopers. So I never ever got a chance to even tell my side of the story. When I got down to the Montgomery County Jail, the media was there. The media was there. Channel 7, CBS, ABC, Channel 7 News, Channel 2 News, 22 News, Fox 45, they were there. And the first thing they said, inmate, one who's supposed to watch your loved ones inside the prison is bringing drugs and having sex with female inmates. And that wasn't what it was. So the media, once again, took it to the next level, threw me out there, and the system pulled the carpet underneath me and made me fall. So they had nobody. I had to get my own attorney because usually you're supposed to have the union represent you. They didn't represent me. I had to buy my own attorney. What was it? $15,000 later, I get 22 months in prison. They were trying to get me for 15 years. I got 3 years and I got out early.
So what was you ultimately charged with?
They charged me with drug trafficking and they charged me with sexual battery.
No contraband.
No contraband. The sexual battery because I was in a personal trust because they believed her. There wasn't no DNA, Wasn't no DNA, but they believed her.
On what grounds, though? What grounds did they believe her? Just her saying that?
Word of mouth. Word of mouth. They drew blood. They stuck the little thing up my wang hole, scraped all that stuff outside, put it. Nothing came back with me. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And I tell people that story, and they're like, "Wow, really?" I said, "Yes." I wrote my book. My book, you have to go through that background check with your book, people, so they don't get sued. Everything I'm telling you is what's in my book.
Right.
And it all came back and said, no, I had to get another attorney when I got my early release, and he had my whole case. He said, why would you plead guilty to this? I said, because I was in the media. I said, because they were harassing my wife at work at her job. I said, you know what? I said, just give me the deal. So this stuff can stop.
Boy, is that a story there. Alex, what you got to say about that?
The whole damn system's corrupt, man. And
Dude, right.
I understand the position of the guards. I understand the position of the inmates. I don't understand them with the sexual stuff, just because they should know better than to know that they can just trust an inmate, sadly, because I was an inmate as well. So you can't just take somebody's word.
I was dumb. I should never open up.
No, you shouldn't have. But we as people are people. We're humans.
Exactly.
We're fallible.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm glad you only did 22 months, because you're able to get out here and make a difference in your community, and that's what really matters. That it was able to show you a picture of both sides of the fence.
They did.
And that's going to make you stronger in the work that you do going forward.
Yeah, it does. And I say that too. I tell the people when I go speak, I say, you know what? It was like, and then religious people say, well, you don't. I said, I left the Christian aspect and I became Muslim because the Muslim aspect opened up to me more than the Christian aspect. I hate to say that. The Christian, I was in church and they never came to see me. They never even wrote me. I write the church, and my letters will come back. And so I said, how was that possible? I said, I'm supposed to be I pay my tithes. I pay my tithes. You're driving a Mercedes because my money's helping you put gas in it.
Until you don't do what they want you to do.
Exactly. I hate to say that, I'm not saying all churches like that, but in the African neighborhood, the black neighborhood, I say that. I can say that because that's what happened. I went to a black church. I was a deacon in that church. I was a pillar in that church. I helped clean that church. And when I fell, you pushed me away. And I just can never forget that. Everybody said, well, man, you got to live and forget. I can't forget it, because when I was on my lowest point of my life, you were supposed to be there to help me get up, but you weren't there.
Pretty sure when you asked that question of what would Jesus do, he wouldn't have done that.
Exactly. Come on. That's what I'm saying.
Jesus loves the prisoners, man.
I know they do. Right? I know they do. I found that out when I was in there. I was in there. I said, because, there are some guys in there right now that I know could be one of the most powerful ministers now, because I know what they talk about and they tell the truth. And that's what people don't get. We tell the truth. We might not be the truth that you want to hear, but you think about it is the truth, because we have seen it. We know it. Not saying that we're always right, because we're not always right. But the things that we know because we studied it. We watch people. We can read people because we know a fake when we see it.
Amen. Hallelujah. Preach. So let me say this, man, because I hear all this, and Bobo, I love you, brother. But
thank you, man. I love you too, bro.
I'm gonna keep it real. I'm a real ass cat.
I like that.
And I'm a convict always to the day I die, right?
Yes, sir.
So I hear all this crap. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, my message is this, and it's very important, and I'm part of that. And I joke around, I say crap, because 10 out of 10 times, Bobo, I probably would have done the same thing that you done if I was in your shoes, thinking how I was thinking back in the day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's I say crap because we all do the things that we do out of ego,
Exactly.
out of selfishness,
Mm-hmm.
and out of manipulation that media puts in our minds that these things are important to us, that
Mm-hmm.
that we're supposed to divorce our wives, or it's okay to divorce our wives, or it's because the agenda is always to separate the family. They want to separate children
Mm-hmm.
from parents. They want to separate parents. They want to separate the household. That is the agenda. So this is why the divorce rate's at an all-time high in these things. But
I agree with you.
I say all that to say this. At the end of the day, and Bobo, I already know you know this, so I'm just going to say this for the people
Mm-hmm.
that don't know this and using your example. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, Bobo had a choice. And,
Yes, I did.
and everything that he is experiencing now, everything that he went through with the media, all the embarrassment, everything that this man experienced, even though it's wrong and it was corruption and all of these things, Bobo brought that onto himself,
Yes, I did.
right? And I believe from just the story that I heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, of course, it's your life and your story, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe the spawn of that just came from communication or lack of communication between you and your partner.
I agree with that. It is exactly what it was. You're right. You're absolutely right. And you have to go through prison. You have to go through those classes and stuff like that. And that was one of the main things they said. So, what was your communication like? And there wasn't none. And you're right. There was no communication, and that's a simple fact. And it kills me because you said that, because you're right. You're right. Man, you done missed your calling, man. Maybe you should be able to be in there talking to these kids, to people too, man, because you're absolutely right. It's communication. And communication is one thing that a lot of men don't have with their other, because they don't want to seem like you're weak. And I tell guys all the time, it doesn't hurt. Sometimes you have to say, baby, I'm sorry. It doesn't say you're sorry and actually meaning you're sorry is two totally different things.
Right. And as a black man, would you say that it's harder to communicate, especially open
Yes.
up to therapists and things of that nature?
Yes, it is.
You're not taught that as a kid, right? You're taught other than that, to keep everything inside the family. You don't bring things outside the family.
Man up.
Right.
That's right. Exactly what it is. I remember that falling down as a kid with my grandfather and hurt my knee. Men don't cry.
Right.
Stop it. You're a grown man. I wasn't a grown man. I was 7 or 9.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't tell me a grown man don't cry. I'm not grown yet. I'm supposed to cry. Why are you crying? Your mama ain't here. Your mother at work. Quit crying. I'm not your mother. I'm your grandfather. You're supposed to suck that up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, where my mom at where she can rub my knee and make me feel better? And that's the whole problem was, like you said, ego. That is a man, especially a black man. That's our biggest sore, is an ego, because we try to live up to so many levels because we already looking down upon a lot. Because they always think that a black man's this type of black man, or he's a violent, or he doesn't take care of his kids and all this type of stuff. And you try to step out harder because I don't want to be part of that political genre. Because I came up single parent house, so my dad wasn't around. But so I don't want to start. I wanted to end that family curse where the man wasn't around. And also, I can say this real quick, that the black woman, I hate to say this, I don't know, man, black women are going to be hearing this. A lot of black women need to understand that not every black man is wrong. Not every black man is going to try to do certain type of things. We need to be loved too. We need to be held too sometimes. Quit being a punk. Quit being a punk. I want to hug when I come home from work. Say, baby, how was your day? I know you look tired. Give me a hug.
Man, my goodness, man. Y'all loosen up some. Loosen up. Love your man, man.
Right, exactly.
This shit is tough out here for us, man. We're under attack. Our manhood's under attack, man.
Yes, we are. I'm not saying that it's my wife's fault that I did that. But again, like you said, if I had communication, I could have sat down and talked to my wife, not a female inmate, to let her in, get close to me, able enough to let her know how I tick. I should never let another female know how I tick. That's my wife's job.
Let me ask you this, Bobo. What could
Yes, sir.
your wife have done differently that would have made you open up at that time?
Listen
Hey,
to me.
before
Listen to
you
me. Go
before
ahead.
you answer that, Bobo, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to dip out of here,
Mhm.
Thomas.
Okay,
I got
Alex. Yeah, we've been
my,
on for a while, man. That's
yeah.
how our conversations run too, man.
I know
Right.
they do, and you and I have had some of these conversations, but I got some other things going on, and I'm gonna have to roll out to take care of them. So, but I wanted to say that it was very nice to meet you, Stephen.
Thank you, sir.
Much respect and love to you up there in Ohio, doing what you're doing. You keep up the
Thank
good
you, sir.
work, and
Thank you,
hopefully
sir.
we'll cross paths again somewhere down the road.
We will. We will. We're on the same page. We will. I'm here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, my
Drop your
friend.
link.
Absolutely.
Drop your link.
And Thomas, yeah, uh, it's called thephonephoenix.com.
Okay.
And it'll be going live on Monday. I've got a whole program. Thomas and I are going to do another little bit about that later, so check it out.
Okay.
Got some good stuff going on with
All right.
prison rehabilitation and reentry.
Okay.
So
I'll work. I'll check you
yeah,
out.
I've actually got to go address some of that right now. So
All right.
Thomas, I will catch up with you soon. To all the listeners, thanks for checking us out. Keep up with Thomas FreeMe and the podcast, baby.
Absolutely, man. I love you, man. Be safe.
All right.
Love you guys, man.
Yeah, Bobo, man, and you got a great story, man, for real. I mean,
Thank you, man.
just this here, and you know, I'm sorry you went through the things that you went through, man, and
But
it's tough for us men, man.
it is. It is. But like you said before, it's not an excuse to do what I did. You're right. There's no excuse for that. And like
No,
you said, I should have sat down and talked to my wife. I should have. And that's why that was part of the reason why we got divorced. I think that's one of the reasons why we got divorced, because the trust was gone and it never was able to get back to where it was. And we lasted years after. She rode with me when I was in prison. She rode when she came to visit me. She put money on my books. She accepted my phone calls, and she rode with me.
that's a good
No matter
woman.
and she knew what I want. But see, I didn't respect that. But it also came to the point now that the woman I have now, my girlfriend now, she's known me since I knew her. She was a senior in high school. I was a freshman in college, and we've always been friends. And she opened her house up to me, and she knew about my background. She knew everything. She's like, I know who you were. And again, what you just said, I want people to know who I am, not who I was. I want to know who I am now, because I made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and she saw past that. So I respect her so much for that. But I made that mistake, and I can admit that I made that mistake. I don't blame her. I don't blame being an inmate. I don't blame the inmates. I don't blame none of that, because I opened myself up to be trapped, and I should have known that. I went to school for that. I should have knew that.
And I appreciate that. And that's the message. The message is, and I want everybody to understand that message, is that no matter what happens in our life, right? The devil is constantly trying to tempt us to too bad, right? And at the end of the day, again, like I use the example, we could be chained to a wall, but you still have a choice. You always have a choice, right?
Yes, you do.
So I really appreciate the fact, that you're as open as you are, but situations, we have to understand how situations occur. And I wanted to bring that all back, because most of everybody's lives could be so much different with just a little bit of communication and just swallowing your ego and pride and
Exactly.
you know what I
You're
mean?
right,
I have
exactly.
my own issue that I have to go deal with now. You know what I mean? And I'm having issues with ego and pride as well within my relationship.
I agree with that.
And I'm actually going to do an episode on toxicity and things of that nature as well, because it's very important to understand when we are in a toxic situation. So
I agree with you.
Bobo, man, again, like I say, much love.
Thanks, bro.
I did want to do this with you. I want to do more with you, because I believe in your message to the kids. I believe that you have a good message. I believe that you have a strong message, and
Thank you.
and I cut for you. So
Appreciate
I think some of the hurdle may be what I opened up with earlier. Just the simple fact that you may be looked upon as a dirty cop or something like
I
that.
get it. Yeah.
And you're automatically just cut out. And I want to show that even though that a person makes mistakes and you have your opinion, We're not here to argue against your opinion. Your opinion is your opinion, but all we're asking is that you just listen to the message.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just listen to the message, and if it makes sense, roll with it. One thing that needs to be taught in our schools as well that isn't taught, and again, it's agenda, is logic.
Logic.
Right? These kids don't have logic. There's no
Nope.
there's no
Nothing at all.
logical decision making when you're sitting here playing Grand Theft Auto and then you're saying, you know what, I want to take this to the street for real. There's
Right.
no logical thinking that comes afterwards.
Mm-mm.
After that initial thought is, man, this would be cool if I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with you 100%, man. That's where, and that's exactly where it's at.
we're in
You're right.
we're in trouble, partner, and I you know, my daughter asked me, she said, Dad, why are you angry all the time? And I'm like, baby, don't misconstrue anger for seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not angry, but I'm serious. These are serious times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're losing a lot of our rights. We're losing our children. You
Yes,
know what
we
I
are.
mean? And it's getting to a point to where people are scared to leave their house anymore in America.
Mm.
This
Mm-hmm.
this is America, man.
Land of the free. You're
Land
right.
of the
That's
free,
right.
man. People need to wake up. So, Bobo, thank you so much for coming
No
on the
problem,
show
bro.
and opening up, man.
Anytime, man. I'm here for you, man.
Absolutely, man. Many blessings to you and your family.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And just keep doing what you're doing, partner. Okay.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it so much. Thank you for the chance.
Amen.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
One.
All right.
So that's it. You know, I thank y'all for joining in, and that's it again. In a nutshell, that's my message. That's my whole message. I'm trying to bring the fact that a lot of the decisions that we make are based upon ego, misinformation, material, which is again is ego, and just lack of communication. You know, we have to do better. So once again, thank my public, man. I thank you guys for subscribing and really joining in on the discussion. That really means a lot to me because I'm doing this for you guys. This is all for you guys. I'm dedicating all my days, all my time to try to bring awareness to the communities, and that's it, to the Americans, so that we can come together and come to a common ground. As you heard these guys say earlier, like, we don't have to agree on everything to understand what the root element of our nation is, right? And it's lack of emotional control, lack of communication, and lack of honesty. I lack all these myself, so I know I'm speaking from experience, you know. So it's all of us being our best self, man, in every given situation, and moving forward and helping each other out in the understanding that we have to come together as just one nation, one voice, you know. So again, to Miami, I love you. Many blessings. I know I was muted in the beginning of the podcast, so man, I'm a dumbass. What can I say? You know, I got so much shit I got to remember before the show starts. So I do apologize for that, but I gave many blessings to the people in Miami. My prayers again to you. I love you. I wish the best for you guys, man, and it's a tragedy. Once again, this is another strike on the poor. So, people, we have to come together, man. I love you. Be your best self. Until then, man, we out this bitch.